Due to a confluence of events and dates, I will have to combine my annual NCAA Final Four show with my annual April Fool's Day show. Because I didn't plan ahead and was caught off guard, and I didn't realize April Fool's Day fell on the 1st this year. Today's player is another college basketball player who has no Wikipedia page, which means I am missing key information. There were several NCAA players and coaches I could have chosen to conclude the college basketball season. I chose this player because he deserves to be recognized for all he's done for youth sports over the decades. Which is a nice segue to thank and dedicate this show to my mom and dad, who taught and coached and were great at it. Two others I'd like to thank are Math Bowler, and who is a school teacher and always leaves me nice comments from the beginning, and Andy at D's Collection, who has coached little tykes, and that's not easy to do in any sport because 5-year-olds just run around in circles. It's because of people like Steven and Andy. This is where life lessons are learned. Special thanks to my longtime friend George, who is known as Concrete Buddy and gave me a big nod in the community. That was greatly appreciated. In the mid-70s, my dad coached my brother Ed, AYSO soccer team for a couple of seasons, 4th through 6th graders. Soccer was a good option for kids whose parents made them play a sport and found baseball boring and didn't want to play tackle football. My dad coached because no one else would. The kids didn't know how to play soccer, and my dad himself had to learn the rules. Youth sports is all about dads and moms who take the time and energy to get involved, sometimes in a sport they're not really interested in, but do it for their kid. That's why getting involved in youth sports is so important. It gives you more than once or twice a day to have an interaction with the most important thing in your life. Well, besides your dog and your record collection. So let's go over to Stanford University to meet George A. Selleck, who would soon add a bunch of letters to his name. A couple in the front and a few at the end. I don't know when and where he was born, but I know he went to Compton High School in Los Angeles, and his Hall of Fame induction write-up had a lot of info in it. It mentioned during his junior year in high school, he somehow broke his knee and the kneecap was removed. Doctors advised him to pursue other interests. His coach, Ken Foggins, had other plans, and George and his parents went along with it. In the last league game of the 1951 season, George was put in at the end of the game just to be eligible for the playoffs. And in those playoffs, George made the assist on the buzzer beater winning shot in the first game and made 3 buckets in the second game. As Compton High won the CIF state championship with a record of 27-8. His senior year, George Selleck was named High School All-American and 1952 CIF Player of the Year. CIF stands for California Interscholastic Federation. He took his team back to state, then won the national championship. They were 32-0, back-to-back state champs, and now the best high school team in the country. At 5'8" and 135 pounds, he was noted as being diminutive. Yet UCLA's legendary coach John Wooden tried to recruit George. Instead, he left home in the fall of 1952 and headed north to attend Stanford. Rules at the time did not allow freshmen to play on the varsity teams. Otherwise, the undersized guard would have. Averaging close to 14 points a game during his varsity days, playing in every game for 3 seasons. Named first team All Pac-12 for 1955-56 season. Received first team All-American honorable mention and only the 3rd Indian to score 1,000 points. George faced Bill Russell and the USF Dons only once while at Stanford. 4 quotes from back in the days from those that know. USF Dons Hall of Fame coach Phil Warpert said, "He is the Bob Cousy of the West." Cal Bears Hall of Fame coach Pete Newell said, "Cousy does everything spectacularly, Selleck does it effortlessly and without calling particular attention to what he does." Former NBA player and Stanford alum Paul Neumann noted, "Selleck had the best crossover dribble I ever saw." And Hall of Famer Bill Russell called George the biggest little man in basketball. George is a member of the Pac-12 Hall of Honor and the Stanford Athletic Hall of Fame. And I was surprised to find he has his own basketball card. A 1955 All-American Sports Club. That set came out in a large sheet that includes 500 players, with the first 125 being college basketball players, and Dad has signatures from 12 of them. I saw George's card hand-cut, raw, for $20, and one of Bill Russell's graded for $8,000. George was an impressive athlete. Go ahead, Dad. Ask me, Ed. How impressive was he? George turned down offers from the Philadelphia Warriors and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Also impressive is how he chose to continue his education rather than play pro sports. George stayed at Stanford, getting his master's degree in educational psychology, then went to Princeton to get a master's of divinity in theology, before coming back home to earn his doctorate in counseling psychology from USC. George, the basketball star, became Dr. George Selleck, PhD, M.Div, M.A. But all those extra letters added to his name weren't just to look good on his letterhead. He put his acquired knowledge and experience to good use. Dr. Selleck has written several books and countless articles on youth sports. He founded Sports for Life and Parents for Good Sports, both nonprofits dedicated to improving the sports experience for kids and their families. Founder and director of Lead to Play, a program that encourages kids to play sports while promoting healthy living and developing life skills. And George spreads his message worldwide by taking time to serve on the advisory board of Sports Village, working with their Edu Sports Initiative, providing sports management services to schools in India. Dr. Selleck has spoken to countless groups and given seminars to hundreds of schools and organizations, including the NBA Rookie Transition Program, the American Basketball and Football Coaches Associations, as well as some of the biggest corporations in the world, Hewlett-Packard and Dow Chemical, just to name two. In 1998, he received the California State Athletics Director's Distinguished Service Award. And in 2007, Dr. Selleck was named one of the 100 most influential sports educators in America by the Institute for International Sports. A man with a very busy schedule, Dr. Selleck used to travel every other week to Washington, D.C., working with the U.S. State Department's Sports United program. George says when he speaks to groups of parents, they all agree that sports should be fun, but none of them can define fun. I ask them, do you believe sport teaches life skills? They always say yes. Then I ask, how does that happen? They say, well, it just does. Dr. Selleck says sports is very magical in its potential. That magic, the potential to develop kids as human beings, that is somewhat lost today. George also believes the focus on entertainment has turned sports into an adult environment and not the youth environment that he experienced growing up, saying, schools no longer make physical education mandatory. Exercise has given way to sloth. Sloth is defined as reluctance to work or make an effort, laziness. Dr. Selleck continues, I don't believe there is such a thing as a lazy kid. Play is a concept that needs to be reintroduced to our culture. So George created the A Games, a student-driven sports and fitness program for the kids that don't play on a team. He says, there's hundreds of games that kids can do for fun and not for competition. Adding, there's too much focus nowadays on the destination rather than the journey. We are not living in the moment. Mr. Selleck and his wife, Barbara, herself a school teacher, do live in the moment. And I never say former teacher because there is no such thing. The two live in Pinole, not far from San Francisco, and their grandson, Kian. But it's not all lectures, traveling, and writing books. For 15 years, George refereed Pac-8 college basketball games and found time to coach sports at Brentwood High School, and twice named Coach of the Year by LA Times. And even at the age of 76, George was refereeing high school basketball games over in the East Bay. And just last October, he was on a podcast giving advice and helping another generation of kids, parents, and all those who offer their time and energy to participate in youth sports, especially those poor referees and umpires. So I'll wrap up my Final Four show with one more quote from the man of the moment, Dr. George Selleck, who said, "I wish to make every day of my life meaningful, and I'm certainly not ready to retire. They'd have to drag me off the playing field." Spoken like a true sportsman and a real gamer, committed to the end, just like our military. Souvenir programs here honor those who gave their lives while serving for our country. Our thoughts are with those overseas and their families here at home who also sacrifice. They say don't mix sports and politics. I'm not. War and sports go hand in hand. Nearly every player that signed an autograph for my dad served in the military, with many seeing action in combat. It's kind of hard to have an April Fool's Day show under the circumstances. Maybe why I didn't plan a proper one. But life goes on. And I have no worries so long as Aladdin and his Wizard of Oz flying sand monkeys don't mess with my TV antenna, causing me to miss Judge Judy. Oh, damn. Well, still have the power grid. Oh, double damn. Unbelievable. Well, at least there's still satellite communication so I can watch YouTube on my phone.